It's a hot and sticky day in August. The sun is beating down, and I just pulled up to some tidy houses and green lawns on a street in a northern neighborhood of Lansing. It's really quiet, and now that I think about it, this heat is probably why there's no one out here. But there's a little head with black hair looking down at me from an upstairs window. I wave as I approach the house. We drove the hour and a half from Detroit to Lansing to talk about something communities in the metro area and everywhere have been worried about.
After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces.
Afghanistan.
The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated.
After nearly 20 years with U.S. troops on the ground, and about 2 weeks since the troops began their withdrawal, the Taliban last week took Kabul, the capital. People have died trying to cling to a fleeing plane. There's been fighting reported. Michiganders are preparing for the potential of refugees.
This evening in Kabul, as you all know,
And now,
that the intelligence community has undertaken an attack by a group known as ISIS-K.
there's been deadly bombings attributed to an adversary of the Taliban. Dozens of American service members and Afghan citizens were killed Thursday by suicide bombers by the Kabul airport. Michigan has an estimated 700 residents with ties to the country, and from what we've heard, people are scared to speak about what's happening. They're fearful of what might happen to their loved ones overseas if they do. How you doing? I'm looking for Ezatullah.
Hey.
How you doing? But Ezatullah Shamsai, who lives here in Lansing, agreed to talk. Not without fear, but also with some form of hope for what can be done to help. I'm Kerry Jr. II, and this is On the Line. Oh, hello. How you doing?
Hi.
Hello. Is that the coffee hub? Do you mind just just a walk around?
Yeah, we can do. Me she can be careful.
No.
This lady is not allowing anyone with the shoes. I'm not. Yeah,
Okay,
this
no
is
problem.
her rule.
Well, it's a beautiful home. I want to say.
Well, we will go to that house, okay?
Okay, no problem.
First name is Azatullah and the last name is Shamsai.
And how old are you, Ezatullah?
I'm 47, and yep. And I grew up in Afghanistan. I was born in Afghanistan, and I lived there until 2014. So in 2014, I came here. All those times, I have experienced all those different governments, wars, escaping from wars to refugee camps. Like I grew up in a refugee camp. So I think I have enough experience of what is going on there.
We're sitting in Ezatullah's friend's place across the street. As you heard, Ezatullah sort of rushed us this way. He said it's quieter here. Can you tell me what made Afghanistan home, just briefly?
What made it home?
Ezatullah was sitting on a cushioned metal chair in a den on the second floor. He's leaning toward me in the microphone, hands on his lap, and his eyes are looking down from under his black peppered hair. Yeah, what made it home for you?
My relatives that I have, my friends of the childhood friends, my classmates, and all those places that I have played, all those grounds that are my memories now. So all of those things, like the culture, the food, the mountains. So at Michigan, I don't see any mountain, but yeah.
We're both looking out the window as he says this. There's not a single mountain.
But in Afghanistan, I like those mountains, those natural rivers, so that you can go and swim in the rivers. And so we had different swimming pools there. So parts of the rivers, they're like kind of natural rivers. Every day the kids were going to those rivers and kind of swimming there. We have different traditional games. So we had a football game at that time, like as a kids as soon as we were coming back from the schools, we were going and playing with other kids and just enjoying the life. So those are all the things that that makes Afghanistan always be in my heart, always be remembered. When I'm looking back to my childhood, it was totally like full of the problems. And in the childhood, they have a lot of hopes. We didn't have any hopes that what we will be doing in the future. We were just in run. I was at the age of 4 when the Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan and they collapsed the whole thing.
Ezatula's family first left the rivers and mountains he loved so much back in 1985. He was only about 11 years old at the time.
My family escaped to Pakistan that time. I studied in Pakistan. We were living in a refugee camp. We were sometimes, like, I remember several months we were in an open area, like in a desert. Mm-hmm. No water, no food, no things. I have experienced all those things. There, they were just telling you, hey, refugee, what are you doing here? Go back to your country. So I remember one day I was with my father. Somebody, a Pakistani guy, he called on him. He said, hey, refugee. Because they were calling them refugee, not by name. Anybody who was not from their country, they would call them, hey, refugee, come here. That was not for a child when you're walking with your parent and your parent is insulted. That's not easy, that affects your mental, your kind of your mind.
I can only imagine what that's like being called.
Yeah, every day. We were facing that every day. Like, wow. I remember one day my father started a job. He wanted to sell something on the streets. And a person came and he took out everything from him. He said, go back, don't do that here. He said, my kids are they're hungry, they need food. They said, we don't care if you just go back.
When the Soviets left, Ezatula's family thought it was safe to return, and did. But the fighting wasn't over.
We moved from one place to another place. There was again another chaos. We have to move again from there. The schools were closed. There was a civil war between the Mujahideen groups. There were 7 different groups. They were fighting with each other. Everyone was trying to get the power.
And that's when the Taliban came.
They took the power in 1996 from the Mujahideen groups. Mm-hmm. And when they came, the school were closed. A lot of things changed. Mm-hmm. No music, no schools, and everything turned off to a religious schools, madrasas. You had to go through the religious things.
He ended up going back to Pakistan. He finished school, but returned to his native land in 2001.
Yep, and 2014 I came here.
So over the years back in Afghanistan, Ezatula worked as a journalist and newspaper editor. He also worked for the U.S. government on public outreach connected to the Election Commission and the Afghan Constitution. And that made him a target. So what brought you to America?
The first thing was the security, my personal security, my family security. Because even in 2013, when I was there, I know the security situation was deteriorating every day, day by day. I was working with the Election Commission. I could go to any part of the country. But in 2005, I couldn't go to the small districts. In 2008, I couldn't go to just take pictures of my projects. I said, okay, now we are kind of going to limit our movement. And in 2010, my kids were in danger when they were going to schools because they were bomb blasted every day, suicide attacks inside the city. I was in danger when going from home to work. Then I said, okay, this is not what we can live. And we got some direct threat as well from the different groups because the project that I was working with was supported by the people of America, by the United States.
As we know, people today are very fearful that their work for Americans put them in a dangerous situation with a new Taliban takeover. After the break, we'll get into the latest and what it's meant for Ezatula.
My name is Dave Boucher, and I'm a government and politics reporter for the Detroit Free Press. In the past year, we've brought you the impact of the 2020 general election and debunked mountains of misinformation. All the while, we continue to delve into the policies and politics driving the fight against COVID-19. There's never been a more critical time to produce reliable information while holding the powerful accountable. But we can't do that alone. By subscribing to the Free Press, you're supporting quality local journalism that creates a stronger community for everyone. And it's never been easier to join. For just $1, you'll get 6 months of full digital access to all of my work, along with excellent coverage on autos, sports, and additional topics chronicled by my wonderful colleagues here at the Detroit Free Press. To learn more, head to freep.com/special offer. Thank you.
And we're back, speaking to Ezatullah Shamzai about what's going on in his native land of Afghanistan. We spoke before the bombings on Thursday, but there'd already been reports of fighting and people scrambling to evacuate. It was a somber conversation with Ezatullah. When we were talking about his fond childhood memories, his face had brightened. He'd smiled. That's not the case now. When you first heard about what was going on in Afghanistan, what's your first thoughts?
Well, I was shocked. I got a phone from my family members. I saw that on the social media as well, that the Taliban take over the country. The government collapsed. That was heartbreaking for me, and because I know that the country is going to somewhere that Afghans will not be hoping for that, not like it. My family, like when I told the story to my wife, she was also shocked and she was crying because she immediately tried to contact the family members back there, but she couldn't find them.
They didn't sleep that night. They just kept trying and trying to contact their loved ones.
Because everybody was running, so it was a hard time. Hopefully that will not come again. My friends told me yesterday, a family member, I called him, I said, how do you feel? He told me, he said, the trees, the streets, anything that you see, the human beings, everything is upset. Everything is worry. Everything is looking like they're just dying. So he said, not a normal situation, and the big concern is about the future.
And he doesn't see light at the end of the tunnel, only hope that the world won't look away.
They are telling me, the family members and the friends, that the Taliban are making announcement. They're saying that they will not seek for revenge on anyone. But people say, we don't know. Looking into their history, we are not sure yet. Because in the last 1 week, we hear different stories from different parts of the country that somebody has been killed.
Why did you decide to talk with me today? Because I know you were initially hesitant to speak on it, and you said that you didn't want to complain about what was going on. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, initially the reason that I said I'm not talking to you, I'm still scared. Even if I'm United States, I'm here, I'm safe, but I'm scared. I'm worried about my family and friends as well, because sometimes when you talk here, that can affect their lives in Afghanistan. I kind of rethink about your call. I said, let's go and talk, and if we can pass some messages, if we can just inform them of the situation, what is going there, because my informations are kind of first-hand information. I have relatives and friends there, and I'm like continuously in contact with them. They call me every day. So we know what the media don't know, what the American people can do. We request all those people, like the U.S. government, the international community, to force the Taliban to make an inclusive government, to allow all Afghans to be in the government. Human rights, the freedom of speech, social rights, all those things, those are necessary for the public. If you are limiting all those rights, we will not recognize you as a legitimate government.
Like, is there an Afghan community that you found in Michigan and Lansing?
Yeah, we have about 20, 25 families here in Lansing. So we have a community
Have y'all discussed what's happened so far with what's going on in Afghanistan and the Taliban recently?
Yes, we discussed that last day, and some of them are trying if they can bring like their mom and dad here, but this is not possible right now because the chaos in the airport is very kind of heartbreaking. You might have seen the plane and the people. It's not easy right now. They're concerned about the families.
What is your hope now with this situation that's going on in Afghanistan?
Right now, my hope for Afghanistan is that if all Afghans come together and make that country. This is finally the country of Afghan people. They should feel responsible and they should work for their country. It doesn't matter who is who. Now is the time to unite and just make a good government for the people, because all are sacrificing the people of Afghanistan. They are suffering.
What's next for you, for your family here and your family in Afghanistan?
Well, I don't think if I can go back to Afghanistan, because I can only hope. What I told you, that I want a government, a good system, these are just hopes. Me and my family, I don't think if we can go back to that country, because my kids like it here, they're in school, so they don't want to be in chaos. And I don't want my kids to be in all those difficult situations that I have seen in the past. I want them to be in schools. I want them to have good futures for them. So this is all I hope for my kids, and this is what I'm thinking. Even if I go back and the Taliban are not killing me, I'm not going to go back there because I don't trust anyone. A lot of people are complaining about weather of Michigan. I like it. I like the snow because where I was living in Afghanistan, that was also a snowy place. Like if somebody's telling me among the 10 countries to pick one, I will pick United States. And if they're telling me to pick among the state, I will pick Michigan.
After we finished talking, we said our goodbyes and our thank yous. And as I prepared to drive away, I saw Azatullah step out onto his porch and into the heat to smoke a cigarette. Two of his sons moseyed nearby, and he looked out on his green Michigan grass. On Thursday, President Joe Biden vowed to avenge the fallen Americans killed in the recent blasts. He also stood behind his evacuation plans to complete the withdrawal of U.S. forces by August 31st. More than 100,000 Americans and Afghan allies have already been evacuated, Biden said. The Taliban recently announced that U.S. nationals will be allowed to leave, but Afghan citizens will not. If you're interested in supporting refugees, make sure to check out our show notes on freep.com. We'll have some info for you there. This episode was produced by me, Darcy Moran, and Tad Davis. Anjanette Delgado and Marianne Struman are our executive producers, and Peter Bhatia is our editor. Thanks so much to Freep reporter Dana Afena, who found Azatullah over in Lansing. The music for the show is called Fort Trumbull and was produced by DJ Lost Boy. Thanks for listening. You already know what to do. Go ahead and like it, subscribe to it, share it, all that good stuff. We really appreciate it. All right. See y'all next week. It is hot. It is very hot out today.
I'm fine with that.
Would you prefer like a hot day like today or a snowy day?
Snowy day is good, man.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not common
That's typical,
here.
I know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, people like hot weather because I spent my childhood was in the deserts and camps and hot places. I don't like that. I like hot, the snowy places.